You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Friday. TGIF, 18th day of November, 2022. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. Now, we do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first live broadcast is from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That's our live trading room, which is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you've not yet taken your 1-week free trial, in a few minutes, Michael will show you exactly how to do that, and there is no credit card required. At 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break, and then we come back at 12 noon Eastern for this broadcast, which is not reserved for members only, but is actually open to the public. Everybody, everywhere, in fact, from anywhere on planet Earth. If you have an internet connected device, a phone, a tablet, a PC, a Mac, you can join this afternoon broadcast by simply pointing your browser to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN. Pretty easy to remember, youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, but we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,100 daily live broadcasts archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. If you're new to the world of CFRN, it's one of the best ways to get to know not only who we are today, but who we were 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, even further. Just scroll back and pick days at random. Now, there's another way to join the afternoon broadcast that's actually a little better. Okay? The reason it's better is because it gives you access to the question box so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. You only have to do this once. Go to mytradingiq.com, scroll down to where it says afternoon broadcast, click the link, complete the 30-second registration form, and then every trading day going forward, you'll get an email before the afternoon broadcast starts. There'll be a link in the email you receive, and all you have to do is click that link, and it will automatically log you into our platform, where, as I said, you'll have access to the question box so that you can ask questions and learn more about who we are, what we do, and even why we do it. So with that out of the way, let's open with a word of prayer, as we do each day. Now, our topic this week has been learning to wait on God. Because once we surrender our lives, every area of our lives, from our families to our relationships, to our businesses, to our finances, once we've fully surrendered everything to God, we're running on His timetable, not ours. So learning to wait on God is extremely important to every believer. Our scripture today, Ephesians 2:10. I'll be reading from the Message translation. Now God has us where He wants us. with all the time in this world and the next to shower grace and kindness upon us in Christ Jesus. Saving is all His idea and all His work. All we do is trust Him enough to let Him do it. It's God's gift from start to finish. We don't play the major role. If we did, we'd probably go around bragging that we'd done the whole thing. No, we neither make nor save ourselves. God does both the making and the saving. He creates each of us by Christ Jesus to join Him in the work He does. The good work He has gotten ready for us to do. Work we had better be doing. So again, our topic this week, and it's going to spill into next week because it's a big topic, waiting on God. Now, one of the most difficult times to wait on God is when we find ourselves in uncertain times. It's safe to say that the questions I'm often asked, especially when I was pastoring a church, but involve the issue of God's will. People often ask, how do I know what the Lord wants me to do with my life? Or, when I have two options, how can I know which way the Father wants me to go? I've also found that never are believers more concerned about God's will than during times of waiting, when we desperately want to know what He's up to and whether or not He will answer our prayers. He always answers our prayers, but just perhaps not in the way that we want Him to or expect Him to. King David was able to endure through all his adversity because he understood that it was the Lord's plan for him to be king of Israel. That's in 1 Samuel 16. And Abraham was able to be patient because the Father had promised he'd have many descendants and become a great nation. Genesis 12. Though I'm sure the delays were extremely difficult for these two men, they could hold on to the Lord's assurances about their eventual blessings. Unfortunately, the long intervals of anxious anticipation can be even more challenging when you're not really sure where God's taking you or what He's planned for your life. Perhaps the issue of God's will has been heavy on your heart. You know His plans for you are good, but what are they? Do they really include the fulfillment of your dearest hopes and dreams? Is there any way you can be certain? Please be assured, the Father wants you to know His will for your life. In fact, I wholeheartedly believe that if you genuinely desire to follow Him, He'll move heaven and earth to show you His will. How can I say this for certain? Because in order for you to accomplish the good goals God's designed for you to achieve, you must know what He's called you to be and do. Ephesians 2. Think about it. If you had a son and you wanted him to help with the dishes, would you wait for him to figure out what to do on his own? Of course you wouldn't. You'd teach him how to properly wash dishes. Then you'd express your expectations about how often you'd like for him to do so. You'd direct him carefully, and if he forgot your instructions, you'd be sure to remind him. The same is true for our Heavenly Father. He prepares us to do His will. He equips us to carry it out. Then He leads us in accomplishing it. It would be completely out of character for God to hide His plan or refuse to help us achieve it. Instead, the Lord promises in Psalm 32, I will instruct you and teach you in the way which you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you. The Father wants you to make the right decision. So just like a shepherd lovingly steers a lamb who's prone to wandering, He trains you to listen to His voice, prods you, calls to you, protects you, and even disciplines you in order to lead you in the way that you should go. John 10. Not only will the Father guide you, but in Jeremiah 29:11, He assures us, I know the plans that I have for you, plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. In other words, you don't have to be afraid that there's only heartbreak ahead. God's purposes for you will bring you contentment, satisfaction, and success. Pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings and for your undeserved grace that we find in our lives, fresh and new each and every day. God, we know we're going to face times of adversity. And as we do, remind us in those seasons that your word says in Romans 8:28 that you will cause all things to work together for good to those who love you and are called according to your purpose. We are your people, God, and we firmly believe that. Lord, help us to be especially confident in the waiting seasons of our life, understanding that you and you alone are leading us and engineering all circumstances for our ultimate benefit. It's in Jesus' name that we believe and pray. And everybody said, Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, let me give you the numbers from around the world real quick. And Michael will give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. Going to start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. Currently the Dow's up 113 points. NASDAQ is down 33. S&P 500 is up 4.5. The Russell 2000, our man of the street, up 10. No movers, no shakers. Pretty quiet Friday. Although we did have some activity pre-market, and the new sales, the existing home sales numbers did come in better than expected. Initially the markets reacted negatively to that news. Surprising. There was once upon a time when good news always led to higher prices and bad news always led to lower prices, but it's not the case today, because it's not just men in the moment reading the news and making decisions. 70% of the trades placed on the New York Stock Exchange are performed by computers, algorithms. Yes, a man did write the code and create the algorithm, but after that it's on autopilot. And those algorithms don't really have a way to factor in things like an economic news report that came out today a little better than expected. In the commodity basket, crude oil. Now we've rolled crude forward to the F contract. It's our first contract of 2023, GCLF 23. And crude oil is down $3.20, trading 78.41 last. It's a drop of almost 4%. Now, let me pose a question. OPEC has said they're going to not only give us more oil, but they're going to cut back production. The current administration has already robbed our strategic reserves to the point where we practically have none left. So what's behind this incredible drop in the price of crude? Let me tell you, I don't have the answer, but it's a question that is heavy on my mind. Gold down $7.40, trading 17.5560 last. Silver up 7 cents, trading 21.05 last. In the Asian markets at the close, Nikkei down 30, Shanghai down 18, the Hang Seng down 53. Again, more quiet sideways Friday trade. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE posted a gain of 38 points. The DAX rose 165, which is a little over 1%. And the CAC rallied 68 points, which is also a little over 1%. So that gave us a red day in Asia. It was a green day for the UK. So far, it's a mixed radio Friday here in the US of A, because we have two of the major indices, the Dow and the Russell in the green, while we have the NASDAQ and the S&P in the red. As futures traders, we like to see them all four the same color. Doesn't matter if they're green or red, as long as they're all the same color. That gives us some of our best trading opportunities, because as a futures trader, not only can you trade around the clock, but you can also be long, be short, and be long again all in the same hour if that's what the chart in front of you directs you to do. So with that, we'll go to Michael. We know he's ready, and he'll give us a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. After that, I'll be back. We'll look at the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, and at any point during the broadcast, if you have a question, just type it in the question box. We'll be happy to answer it for you. And if you're a member and you missed last night's workshop, it's in the Telegram workshop channel. Be sure and watch that over the weekend. There was some information given out that I think you'll find importantly interesting. Michael, take it away.
All right, here we go. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Friday, the 18th day of November, 2022. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us, go ahead to mytradingiq.com. Right here. All you have to do is click on this link right here. Sign up for your free 5-day training now. 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern time. Now, that is 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern time every business day. All right, so it doesn't mean tomorrow. But if you sign up now, you'll be good for next week. Anyway, if you're going to sign up, you should go here and download the trading platform. All right, pick whichever platform you use, pick it, and let us know the information that we need, and we'll get you set up. All right, you should also review the trading rules PDF right here. This is, you need to know this stuff going into the trial. You need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing, and this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing in there. You can watch videos of me doing it so that you'll get a good feel for what's going to happen in the trial. All right, now the recaps. Today we had a pretty good day today. Today is the 18th day of November, as I said, 2022. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today we made 37 ticks in crude, 6 ticks in gold, and 36 ticks on the ES. That put us at 880 on the morning session. Today it took 9 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $155 a contract, and we took a total of 18 trades. So on the month, now we're at $14,407 a contract. That's over 14 days, averaging $1,029 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year, we've gotten our goal for the day on 220 out of 220 possible days, and we've gone 281 days since our last negative day in the room now. That was in September of last year. That That puts us now at $222,236. Every day is a new high for us. Every day. We've never gotten we've never done this well for this length of time in any given span since we've been doing this. In the 15 years we've been doing this, maybe 17 years. Anyway, $222,236 is where we are right now. We're averaging $1,010 per contract per 2-hour business day. That's on the whole year. If you were to quit trading when you get your goal for the day, goal being $100 profit, and you were to add 1 contract per month, increasing that $100 amount to $200 to $300 to $400 per contract, then right now, well, first of all, you've only had to work 36.86 hours so far this year if you were to quit trading when you got that goal, and you would have averaged $4,684 per hour. Okay, $4,684 per hour. All right, that is all that info. Now let's get into what we actually did do and didn't do, and could do and couldn't do. We didn't do much here on gold. All right, right here we had our very first trade on gold was here. We picked up 3 ticks there. Then we got a couple more there to get us to 5 and 1 more to get us to 6. And that was where we did the trading of gold. This was our moment in time. I really had no idea what it was going to do, but if it was going to go up, I thought it was going to hit this level, consolidate, then this level, and I didn't know after that. Well, I did give this number up here at some point, but I never managed to go up there. Since the end of the room this morning, gold had no trade through here, and then it sold off, and it gave no trade during the sell-off either. It gave some pretty good indication down here that it was going to go down, but it didn't give you any trade setups during the sell-off. Sorry, not today. Crude oil. On crude, we had a fair amount of trades on crude. We started out in here in the pre-market. There was a red off a red right here, really nice trade. Market opened up. There was a blue off a blue right there that I missed. A blue off a blue here that I missed. A red off a red here that I missed. Finally, I got this red off a red. The first one we picked up 12 ticks on, and then we had a break even. Well, and then in here was a moment of time. I didn't really have any idea what it was going to do. I thought it was going to go down to this level. It did. Then it bounced off and went all the way up here. The next trade we got was right in here. We picked up 10 more ticks to get us to 22. Then we had 14 ticks there to get us to 36. Then 1 tick to get us to 37 right there. There were a bunch of trades in here that I took that, you know, this one was pretty good into the money and I didn't take any profit. This one was up 10 ticks at one point. I took 1 tick. This one ended up being a break even. This one ended up being a break even. You can see it was getting pretty well to the lines that I was drawing. So it was doing pretty well. Crude was getting to the target numbers today. But that said, it didn't give us any more trade setups at the end of the session right here. We finished the session out with no more trade setups. We had 1 red off a red right here. And then once we got some separation down here in the slingshot, there were some more trades on the way down. There's 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. It turned around, started going in the other direction, started giving long trades. If you look down here in the slingshot, you see the separation and you see the opportunity for trades. All right, but we ended up with just on crude 37 ticks. All right, and the ES is where we had the majority of the trades again today, it looks like. And over here, we ended up not getting this one because I couldn't find my DOM, and I thought it was crude oil anyway. But we ended up missing that one. I know some of the guys, Tom V, I know got his goal for the day on that one. And the next trade in here is where we did get the goal for the day, I believe. We picked up 10 ticks on that. All right, then the next one right after that, we stopped out, gave the 10 ticks back. Then the next one after that, we picked up 16 ticks. Then we had a break even. Then we picked up 6 ticks to get us to 22. This was the moment in time. I had no idea what it was going to do. I thought it was going to go down to here and then go up to this level eventually. And that's what it did. It went right down to this. This is not a zone, by the way. This is just a number. Actually, it might be a zone. Let me look here on 36, 37. It's not a zone. Was it 36 or 66? 56. 56. It's not a zone. Yeah, 56 is down here. That is not a zone. Okay, so it went down to this level and then it it bounced off it. It did eventually go up to this level. This was just pure price action that I was projecting this from. It eventually got there, but it didn't give us any trade setups. All right, so from 22, we went here. We picked up 14 ticks to get us to 36. No, that's crude oil. From 22, we picked up 6 ticks to get us to 28. And then 6 ticks to get to 28. We had to break even, then 4 ticks to get us to 32, and then 4 more ticks to get us to 36. And that is where we ended on the morning session. Now, red off a red and blue off a blue. None during the break. Maybe I blew off a blue right in here. Sorry, blew off a blue right in here. That would have worked out for a break-even trade for me. There were some trend trades in there that you could have done, but that was it. That was it today for the ES and the room in the morning. Now, if we go back to the spreadsheet here, if you're going to read the spreadsheet, you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 18th day of November, 2022. 37 ticks in crude, 6 ticks in gold, 36 ticks on the ES. That put us at 880 on the morning session, and today it took 9 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $155 a contract, and we took a total of 18 trades this morning. So that puts us at $14,407 per contract per 2-hour business day on the month. I'm sorry, that is not right at all. That puts us at $14,407. I guess it does. Per contract per 2-hour business day on the month. That's true. And we're averaging $1,029 per contract per 2-hour business day daily. All right. That gives us 220 out of 220 days so far this year. We've got our goal, and 281 days since we've had our last negative day in the room. Those are all business days, by the way. On the year, that puts us at $222,236 over 220 business days, averaging $1,010 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to quit trading when you got your goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract per month, so far this year, you would have only had to work 36.86 hours, and you would have averaged $4,684 per hour on the year, right? $4,684 per hour on the year. All right. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com. Right here it says sign up for your free 5-day training now, 9:30 to 11:30 Eastern time. Click on that. Okay. When you click on that, you'll be brought to not this page. Well, you'll be brought to some page. You'll be brought to this page. Fill out this form, and then you'll be sent a link to get into the morning session. This is starting Monday now. You'll be sent a link to get into the morning session for 5 consecutive business days. Now, next week, we only have 3 consecutive business days that we're going to be open, so it would carry on to the week after. Okay? All right, and that is it for that. I can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona in Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
I am ready.
Okay.
And let me grab the screens.
There it is. Well, almost.
Almost. And there it is. Okay.
There it is. There it is.
Recap of the recap.
Today, it took 9 minutes and 2 trades to get to $155 a contract.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Okay, guys. I believe Valerie is out of the office today.
She is indeed.
Logic 247. She just sent me a picture. Okay, so the recap, the Logic 247 recap, I'm going to give you right now, was as of 5:30 a.m. Eastern this morning. So a lot's happened since then. Some of the alerts that were waiting in the wings to trigger have triggered, and there have been new alerts issued. Okay, so when she returns to the office this afternoon, she will update the recap, and it will be posted in all the appropriate places for everyone to see. However, as of 5:30 a.m. this morning, we're in week 224, by the way. In those 224 weeks, we have issued over 12 8,500 individual, handcrafted Logic 247 alerts. What's the Logic 247 alert? Well, it's an alert that gives you an entry price, an initial target, in most cases a second, a third, or fourth target, and then a final trade to target. Now the purpose of the alerts is not so that you can just trade the alerts and not have to learn how to trade, although I know some people do that, and you know what? It's their trading business, and so sadly they're shooting themselves in the foot, because the alerts are created to help you learn how to spot windows of opportunity in the market. In other words, we don't post the alerts after the fact, then it wouldn't really be an alert, would it? No. The Logic 247 alerts, as well as the CTAs, which we'll get to in a minute, are posted well ahead of them actually triggering, so that you have time to study the alert and study the chart, so that you begin to understand what a window of opportunity looks like. And all alerts are based on the 30-minute chart, and then you use your smaller time frame to navigate and time your entry and exit, etc. Okay, so this week, since the markets opened Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, we've issued a total of 95 alerts. 20 never triggered. As of 5:30 this morning, we were still waiting on 5. We've had 70 actionable alerts, of which 15 or 21% would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract, per trade, less when possible, based on market structure and a very simple 3-step process that we teach all of our passport holders in private mentoring sessions. Passport holders are members for life. There's no recurring fees, no upsells, no new shiny objects to buy every other week, no nonsense. You pay once, you're a member for life. That includes everything we do, everything we've ever done, and whatever we do in the future. Okay? Now, you might say, that's a heck of a deal. It is. Okay? And I can't promise you that deal will be there forever, but it's there now. And so if you become a passport holder now, while all I just said is still in effect, then you're good for life. Okay? You don't ever have to spend another dime on any trading stuff. And I know most of you have spent years and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars on so-called magic bullets, holy grails, crystal balls, whatever. And the problem with those toys is they don't actually teach you how to trade. And that's our goal. We want you to become self-sufficient. We want you to grow to the point where you don't need us. We want you to stick around and be a part of the community, but we want you to be able to look at a chart and know when to get in, when to get out, without anybody having to tell you. Okay? Everything we do and everything we teach is fluid across all markets and all time frames. Not just futures, S&P Eminis, the Dow, the Russell, but crude futures, gold, silver, all futures markets, all individual stocks. There's a universe of over 8,000 individual stocks out there. The strategy we teach and the indicators you own for life as a passport holder work just as well on individual stocks as they do on futures, as they do on crypto, as they do on Forex. But you probably gotta like adjust some things or turn some knobs or something when you go from futures to stocks to crypto to Forex. No, you don't. You don't tweak a thing. You don't change a single setting. Because price flow is the same across all markets and all time frames. from support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again, never-ending cycle. Doesn't matter what market, doesn't matter what time frame. It could be 1 minute, it could be monthly, and anything in between. Price flows the same. That's simply how the markets work. Now, why is this the first place you ever heard that? Well, because other folks have lots of shiny objects to sell you. They got a big inventory. We don't. We have the passport. It's good for life, never expires, no recurring fees. Okay. Our original alert service, the concierge trade alerts, they're still as viable as the first time we shared them, but they are a little different than the logic alerts. The logic alerts are based on current price action, with time built in for you to study them before you actually trade them. The concierge alerts are based on historic price action, and they don't come out around the clock like the logic alerts. They're posted as a static report shortly after the Globex open. The markets open each night at 6 p.m. Eastern, Sunday through Thursday, and so last night at 6:25 p.m. Eastern, the CTAs were published. Now, there's two numbers for each market. Hopefully you're not attempting to trade all these markets, okay? But whatever markets you do trade, what you should do when this report is published is make note of where price is at this point in time. It's going to be somewhere in the middle between this number and this number. And on your 30-minute chart, you should draw a line in the sand at this number and a line in the sand at this number. You'll see my lines in the sand in a few minutes when we go to the charts. From the time this is posted, if price starts trending up towards 39.78, if it gets above the BBC on the 30-minute chart, then our strategy is going to look for opportunities to be long the market. On the other hand, if price starts trending down towards 39.46, which means price gets below the 30-minute BBC, then our strategy will look for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you're going to use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room every trading day to yourself find opportunities to be long or short the market. Trading's not easy, but it can be simple. Now, if you don't have access to these numbers because you're not a member, not on a trial, if you want to grab a screenshot, go ahead. Okay? Because we're going to walk through each one of these individual markets after I go over the 10 things you need to know today. Number one, Nancy Pelosi delivered her farewell speech yesterday. Now, she'll continue to serve in Congress till the end of her current term, but she will not run for re-election. At least that's what she said in her farewell speech. And I got to be honest, aside from the little giggle thing, you know, I thought she did a pretty good job. It was blaringly obvious when she talked about all the presidents she had served under and worked with, and she intentionally left out President Trump's name. So, whatever. Here's the headline. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced Thursday that she would not seek to stay on as leader of the House of Democrats in the next Congress. The hour has come for a new generation to lead the Democratic caucus that I so deeply respect. Pelosi, who has spent 2 decades as party leader, said on the House floor, Representative Steny Hoyer Democrat from Maryland, 83, also plans to step aside as the number 2 Democrat. Hoyer has endorsed Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat from New York, age 52, to succeed Pelosi, 82, as the minority leader, because Republicans now have the majority. President Biden said Pelosi, the first woman to serve as House Speaker, would be remembered as the most consequential speaker in the history of Congress. No doubt. She also commented that when she first became a part of Congress, there were only 20, I think, or maybe 25 other women congresswomen. That number now is over 90. And so that's a good thing. Okay? All right. Moving on. Hundreds of Twitter employees resigned Thursday before a 5 p.m. deadline that Elon Musk had given for people to decide whether to leave or sign a pledge to work long hours at a new hardcore version of the social media company. See, there was a whole lot more wrong with Twitter than just their censorship of free speech. They weren't making any money. They never really made any money. They never developed a viable revenue stream. And so Elon's a smart guy, and he knew what he was getting into. And I believe in my heart, he knew this wasn't going to be easy. And when he took away their free lunch, my goodness, you would have thought he took their firstborn. I mean, here's a company with all these redundant employees. He's already wiped out 50% of them because they were just redundant. They sat down to these glorious catered lunches with all kinds of delicacies, from lobsters to truffles to you name it, every day. And they felt entitled to that. While steel workers and coal miners and plumbers and electricians, the backbone of America, small business owners, they have to pay for their own lunch. Okay? This entitled generation that we've allowed to rise up, well, they're getting a hard look at reality right now. The real world. Okay? The golden age of the tech gods. That ship has sailed. More key engineers left than anticipated. Now keep in mind that if they chose to leave before the 5 p.m. deadline and sign the pledge to work long hours, they would get 3 months of severance pay. And being an entitled bunch and perhaps somewhat short-sighted, they think that 3 months severance pay is going to last them the rest of their life. Now, I know they make good money, but it's going to run out pretty quick. And then they're going to be forced to join the real world, where people get up, have to go to work hard. Did you know that Twitter employees could come in on a Monday, and if they got stressed out from having to censor tweets, on Tuesday they could legally, legitimately, by corporate policy, take like a mental health day. Didn't count against them, didn't affect their pay. They could go rollerblading or roller skating or do absolutely nothing. Watch reruns of Beverly Hillbillies. This is why Twitter is such a sinking ship, because of the way it's been ran. Now, Elon, my prayers are with him. I don't agree with everything he says and does, but he's trying to turn this into a real business. I can only wish him the best. Remember, he's already laid off half the company's staff. and fired all the internal critics. Okay, of things you need to know today, we've covered 2. Let's breeze through the rest. Number 3. A Dutch court on Thursday found former Russian intelligence agents and a Ukrainian separatist leader guilty of murder for the deaths of 298 people who were on Malaysia airline flight MH17 when it was shot down with a Russian surface-to-air missile over rebel-held eastern Ukraine in 2014. The plane was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. All 3 of the men received life sentences. The court also ordered them to pay $16.5 million in victim compensation. Now, whether that has any meaning or not, I don't know. Do these people have any money? I don't know. The convictions were widely interpreted as signaling that the government of Russian President Vladimir Putin was being blamed for shooting down the passenger jet, although Moscow denies any responsibility. Zelensky tweeted, "Holding to account masterminds is crucial." And here at home in Arizona, where I overlook South Mountain, America's largest city park, Republican Carrie Lake, the Trump ally and election denier who lost Arizona's election for governor, is refusing to concede. Lake said Thursday she is pulling together a legal team and gathering evidence that some voters had trouble casting ballots. I would be one of those who had trouble. I recounted the story on Election Day to you. Before the election, Lake had declined to say whether she would accept the results if she lost. "Rest assured," she said, "I have assembled the best and brightest legal team, and we are exploring every avenue to correct the many wrongs that have been done this past week. What happened to Arizonans on Election Day is unforgivable." During the campaign, Lake had said she would not have certified the 2020 presidential election results that gave Biden, not Trump, the state's electoral votes. She was a newscaster here in Phoenix for many, many years. She's well liked, she's trusted, honest, forthright. She's the polar opposite of Katie Hobbs, but I'll leave it at that. Number 5, Russia on Thursday hammered cities across Ukraine with its second series of missile strikes in 3 days. The latest attacks damaged infrastructure, including gas facilities, and injuring dozens of civilians in southern and eastern Ukraine. The strikes were part of an ongoing string of attacks that started last month against Ukrainian power and fuel infrastructure ahead of winter. So if we can't shoot them, we'll freeze them. Russia has suffered humiliating battlefield setbacks in recent weeks, including its recent retreat from the key Black Sea port city of Kherson. Moscow, which accused Ukraine's leaders of refusing to discuss peace, has shifted focus to long-range bombing after its battlefield losses and struggles to reinforce its front lines with poorly trained and reluctant conscripts. In case you don't know what a conscript is, it is a young Russian, I don't know, maybe 18, 19 years old, who they're forced to serve in the military. Now remember, back here in the U.S., we had the draft during the Vietnam War, and you entered a lottery, and maybe you got called up and maybe you didn't. But with the conscript thing, everybody gets called up. All men anyway, I don't know about women. So this is who's on the front lines. Poorly trained and reluctant conscripts. They're just human targets. Shame on you, Vladimir Putin. Number 6, a federal judge on Thursday blocked a key portion of Governor Ron DeSantis' Stop Woke Act, intended to police speech and classroom content at state colleges and universities. U.S. District Judge Mark Walker called the measure positively dystopian, saying it violated the First Amendment rights of both students and faculty who, under the 2022 law, had been given standing to sue educational institutions for exposing them to potentially uncomfortable material, such as the 1619 Project on American Racial History. When he unveiled the bill in late 2021, DeSantis said it would give businesses, employees, children, and families tools to fight back against woke indoctrination. The DeSantis administration is expected to appeal this judge's ruling. Number 7, ex-Trump organization CFO describes fraud but says the Trumps were not part of the fraud. This has to do with the real estate school and all of that. So, number 8, GOP operative convicted of funneling Russian money to Trump campaign. Jesse Benton, a former top aide to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senator Rand Paul, and former Representative Ron Paul, was convicted Thursday of helping a Russian citizen illegally funnel a political donation to former President Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Benton, who's 44 years old, purchased a $25,000 ticket to a September 2016 Republican National Committee event for Trump and gave the ticket to Russian multi-level marketer Roman Vasilenko. I smell a podcast coming here out of this, who wanted to support and meet Trump. Vasilenko then gave Benton $100,000. He then contributed $25,000 to the campaign and pocketed the rest. Trump pardoned Benton in 2020 for a separate campaign finance offense, but he was ultimately indicted in the Vasilenko case 6 months later. Number 9, National Weather Service warned yesterday that a powerful lake effect snowstorm could paralyze Buffalo and other hard-hit communities. The storm, which started dumping snow on parts of the region Thursday, could bury parts of western New York in up to 4 feet of snow. Bands of heavy lake effect snow began to pour off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario late Wednesday night, and meteorologists say that snow is only one phase of what is shaping up to be a historic multi-day snowfall event. Snow warnings could remain in effect for several days, with some areas expected to get 3 inches of snow per hour for extended periods. And last, number 10. Ticketmaster said in a Thursday tweet that it was canceling Friday's public ticket sales for singer Taylor Swift's U.S. tour, citing extraordinarily high demands on ticketing systems and insufficient remaining ticket inventory. I guess for Taylor, that's a good thing. Not for fans, but for Taylor. The move came after fans complained earlier in the week that the company's website crashed after Swift's Erase tour in the United States opened Tuesday. Fans swamped the Ticketmaster website, resulting in long waits. Many never managed to get tickets for the tour, and this tour is Swift's first in 5 years. The troubles came as Senator Amy Klobuchar, I'm sure you're familiar with that name, chair of the Senate Antitrust Committee, sent Ticketmaster parent Live Nation Entertainment a letter expressing serious concern that the company's industry dominance could be hurting consumers. Yeah, I'm thinking she got a daughter or a son that wants to go see Taylor Swift. Just my guess. All right, with that all out of the way, let's get to what you came here for. S&P 500 E-mini futures daily chart. Now remember, existing home sales, the number came in better than forecast, but a red daily candle paints a little different picture. Now we've talked about this 38% reverse fib, which the downtrend we're in began March 29th, way back up here, March 29th. And that was the high. The low was put in October 13th. Now, here's the deal. Look over here. As price came down to this area, 1, 2, 3, 4 trading days, we could not break through that level. So we attempted a rally that failed and brought us back to that level. Couldn't get through it. Finally got through it. So this was support. All these daily sessions till we broke through, and then what happened? Price ran right back up to that same area, and it became resistance. That's sort of technical analysis 101. What was one support becomes resistance and vice versa. Okay? Which brings me to where we are today. Sitting right on top of that 38% reverse fib. The same spot we had all the trouble getting through here. Now we finally did break through it and go on to put in the low of the current downtrend. Then we got back above it, and now we're trying to get back below it. If we trade below, then we still have to take out Thursday's low, and then that brings us down to the daily BBC. BBC, the green line, simply stands for bull bear cross. Now it's the same across every market, every stock, every crypto, every forex, every time frame, from 1 minute to monthly. When price is above the green line, we're bullish and expect higher prices. Once price gets below the green line, we're bearish and we expect lower prices. You can see how that's served us pretty well for quite a few years. The other indicator on my screen, the red and blue line, the technical term is CFMA1. I just call it blue and climbing, red and falling, for what I hope are just obvious reasons, even if you're brand new to the show. Blue and climbing, we look for price to go higher. Red and falling, we look for price to go lower. Okay, pretty simple. Now, the daily BBC price always reverts to the mean. In our world, the mean happens to be green, and we just call it the BBC, bull bear cross. CFMA1, red and falling, blue and climbing, and then the step line. As we go to some of the smaller time frames here, I'll point out the importance of the step line. So where's resistance? Obviously the high of today, and then the high of Wednesday, and then the high of Tuesday, which failed to make it up to that 50% reverse fib. Support, low of today, the 38% reverse fib, the low of Thursday, and then the daily BBC. Why do we start with a daily chart every day? None of us trade daily charts, but the institutions, the hedge funds, the Goldman Sachs of the world, they look at daily, weekly, and monthly charts the way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts, because their accounts are denominated in hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. They can withstand a much larger drawdown and stay with a profitable position far longer than you and I are comfortable with, because our accounts are denominated in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. Okay? So we look at the daily chart of whatever market we trade for just a couple minutes when we sit down to trade, so that we get an idea of which way the institutional wind is blowing. Okay. Now, price is almost, you can see that little wick, it almost touched that 38% line. So we're off the low of the day, and we're well off the high of the day. And we only had one high impact economic report today, existing home sales, which, as I already said, came in better than expected. Once upon a time, good news sent the market higher, bad news sent the market lower. This is not your father's market. The world, she is changing, but we aren't. Markets change. Let me hold up on that. The underlying principles upon which markets operate never change. But how the market expresses itself on a daily basis is ever changing. So we become the constant integer in the equation. Okay, hope that makes sense. If not, send me an email and I'll break it down for you. Okay, the vertical line on this chart, 30-minute, all alerts are based on the 30-minute chart. We execute on smaller time frames like 7-tick range, 8-tick range, 5-minute, whatever you choose, whatever you like. Okay. The roadmap is a 30-minute chart. Now, vertical line separates today Friday from yesterday Thursday. Where did the market find resistance yesterday Thursday? At the weekly trading zone. Where did it find support? Zone. And then when the market opened last night, where to find resistance? At the zone. We had to pull back to the BBC and a rally. We consolidated at the zone, and then we continue to the next zone. My point is, when price moves up to a zone, we expect resistance until proven otherwise. Now we hit this zone these are 30-minute candles, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. These two candles spiked the zone, but by the time the 30-minute candle closed, we were well below the zone. That's called rejection. Only 3 things happen at a weekly zone. The most common is consolidation, and that's what this is. That's about 70% of the time. Rejection about 20% of the time. That's when the market opened last night, we had a green candle that ran right up to the zone. But by the time the 30-minute candle closed, we had a red candle. That's rejection. We have published these zones since December 14th of 2009. What's changed with the zones since 2009? Absolutely nothing. Now I said 3 things can happen at a zone. The most common, consolidation. The second, most likely, rejection. The third and least likely, but it does happen about 10% of the time. Price will slice through a zone like it's not even there. When it does that, and it runs out of steam, it will typically retrace to the zone it sliced through, and then continue in the direction of the slice. Textbook example. So last night, we ran up to the zone, found resistance, and then down we came. Now remember, the CTAs are initially targets. Okay? Once penetrated, they become entries. And so, once blue and climbing turned to red and falling, and price got below the BBC, you had plenty of room to get your goal for the day. Because right now, the average true range of a 30-minute candle, based on the default setting, is 12, almost 12 and a half points. Okay? And so once price closed below the BBC, was red and falling overhead, boom. Lots of room down to the target. We did stumble over the target. I won't hide from that. 39.45, 1 point. Then we pull back to the BBC. The pullback holds more often than not. Down we go again. This time we make it a 43.5. So that's 2.5 points. $50 a point. Then price gets above the BBC, slices through a zone, pulls back, continues in the direction of the slice, and from 39.78 we put in a high at 39.82. 4 points, $50 a point, $200 per contract traded. If you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts because you've been with us that long, that's a $2,000 move. Price then got back below the trigger, target slash trigger, and ran all the way to the target, from the published entry to the published target. From 78 to 86, that's 8 points, $50 a point, $400 per contract traded. If you've earned the right to trade 2 contracts, it's $800. 3 contracts, it's $1,200. Okay? The 2420 blueprint, and you become a passport holder. It's gonna clearly spell out what you should do. Number 1, you should trade in sim until you put together 10 consecutive days in a row where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less. Now that's hard for many people. Man, I've been at this 10 years. I've lost over 100 grand in the markets. I'm not trading in sim. Okay. Keep wasting time, keep losing money. It's up to you. As long as you go down the same path, you're going to end up in the same place. Same recipe will always bake the same cake. Period. Okay? So something has to change, right? You've come to us to learn our methodology and strategy, to own our indicators for life. It's going to take time to learn the methodology and how to read the indicators. Okay? So that's why we want you to put together 10 consecutive days in a row in sim before you even think about trading real money. Now, once you put together those 10 consecutive days, the 2420 blueprint will give you the green light to go live with 1 contract. Once you go live with your 1 contract, your goal now is to increase your account balance by $2,000. Once you accomplish that, the blueprint will give you the green light to add a 2nd contract. The big difference between the first contract and the 2nd contract: the first contract is funded with your startup capital, but the 2nd contract is funded with profit you earned in the market. The blueprint will tell you when it's time to add number 3, number 4, number 5, number 10, all the way up to number 20. But each time you're only adding 1 at a time, and you're only adding with profit you earned in the market. If you have the self-discipline to stick to that formula, you can see how it makes it far more difficult to blow up an account. Most people in the audience have blown up more than 1 account. There's no shame in that. It happens to all of us. Okay? But if you're a brand new trader and you follow this plan, you might not ever have to blow up an account. It's possible. Because blowing up an account, while it creates financial wreckage, okay, it's the psychological damage that haunts you for years if you let it. We're going to teach you how to not let the past define your future. So we make a run to the target. It's a beautiful thing. Here we come back down, and I posted this in the discussion group this morning, both in the members only and in the trial discussion group. As price was attempting to go below the zone, I posted a chart and commentary that said if price can get below this weekly zone, make sure you keep an eye on the previous bullish cross. Because the first time down, that's where price will most likely find support. And look what happened. This was a huge red candle all the way down. Until it got to the area of the bullish cross. Bing! Right back up to the zone. And then we came down and tried again. Okay? And then when this candle opened, we actually got lower. Okay? You can see the little bit of wick sticking below that arrow. But we still reversed. Right back to the BBC. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Price always reverts to the mean. And then on this candle, we broke that support area. And we actually triggered on the short side. 39.46 took us down to 39.40, call it 3 points. And then we triggered again. And we had a couple small triggers over here, which we already talked about. Okay? Now, everything I just said and covered and explained about the S&P daily and the S&P 30 minute applies to every market, every futures market, every individual stock, every crypto, and every forex pair. So it doesn't matter what you like to trade. What we teach and the tools we offer are fluid across every market and every time frame. Here's where the market opened last night. We had red and falling, which is bearish. It pushed us below the BBC. And the CTA number, okay, you could have got your goal on the way down once you got below the BBC. But if you waited for the CTA number, which was at 490, we dropped to 469. It's 21 points, $5 a point, a little over $100 per contract traded. And we pulled back to the BBC. Pullback holds more often than not. And we drop again. 33,470. That's a 1 point higher low. Just 1 point. Notice you had a low, a higher low, a higher low, higher low. And it led to this. Is that an anomaly? Happens all the time. Okay, so we get above the BBC. Now we're looking to the upside. So we trigger and we run straight to the target. Then we get back below the trigger and we run to the target again. Now things change, okay? Because the BBC has gotten above the CTA long number. And we don't go long below the BBC. Price has to get above the BBC before we go long. See, over here, on these two moves, it wasn't a problem. Over here, it became an issue. Plus, you got red and falling overhead, which represents resistance. And look what happened when price hit red and falling. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Also, the step line, I said I would explain the step line. On this powerful move up, you've got price, the step line, lots of separation between the step line and blue and climbing, and lots of separation between blue and climbing and the BBC. That's what you want on a long trade. The opposite over here on a short trade. But notice on this short trade how the step line crossed over red and falling, and up here how the step line crossed from the left side to the right side of blue and climbing. That's your first indication. The price is going to try to pull back to the BBC, and the blue and climbing is going to most likely turn to red and falling, or red and falling is going to most likely turn to blue and climbing. Over and over, again and again, a never-ending cycle. Well, the Russell, here's where the market opened, found support, 1837. There was room several times to get your goal for the day before you got to the target. And once we hit the target, we traded through it, but we didn't even rack up a point. But that's okay, because you had your opportunity to get your goal on the way there. Then price gets above the BBC. We trigger and we run up from 1851 to 1853. 2 points, $50 a point, $100 per contract traded. Price pulls back to the zone, finds support, and takes us almost all the way to the target, which is 1871. We made it up to 69. So from 51 to 69, that's 18 points at $50 a point. It's almost $1,000 per contract traded. But then as price came back down, notice the BBC got above the CTA number, got red and falling overhead. These are not valid long trades based upon the strategy and methodology that we teach you. However, if this red candle takes out this low right here, and you got a window of opportunity down to this low, and then down to the target, and if price trades through the CTA number, you got a window of opportunity all the way down to here, then to here, and then to the zone. Many people, you know, when they first come on board say, oh, well, I only trade the S&P. Okay. Not even a bad idea to focus on just one market as you're learning our strategy and how to use the indicators and the weekly zones. Okay. But as time passes, eventually you're going to get tired of sitting around waiting for the S&P to give you a valid setup. So rather than trying to pretend that you see something that really isn't there, you just go to a different market. Well, I don't know anything about trading the Russell. You don't need to know anything about trading the Russell or crude or gold or silver or the euro or bonds. All you need to know is our strategy and how to read our indicators, because they're fluid across all markets and all time frames. I know lots of people will tell you, oh, you can't trade gold and S&P the same way. They got different personalities. I'm not looking for a date. I'm looking for a high probability, low risk trade. Our strategy and our indicators are agnostic. They don't care if you plop them down on the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, Google, Apple, British Pound, Bitcoin, doesn't matter. It's how price flows. It's how markets work. And if you become a lifetime member, we're going to teach you all that. Okay? All right, so much for the Russell. What a move. NQ. NQ did trigger on the long side. You've probably noticed as we've gone through these charts that once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability of it triggering multiple times than not triggering multiple times. That's not an anomaly today. That happens every day. There's over 2,100 daily live broadcasts on our YouTube channel. Go back 6 weeks, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you'll see the same thing. Once an alert triggers, there's a greater probability that it's going to trigger again than not. Okay? So, market opens, pull back to the BBC, off we go, we consolidate at the zone, and then bang. The first move up from 789 takes us to 820. $600 per contract traded. Then we just barely get back below the trigger, and off we go again, up to 43, 1843. That's 53 points at $20 a point. That's over $1,000 per contract traded. Now again, these numbers went out at 6:25 p.m. Eastern last night. So plenty of time. Nobody's got to fall over their feet to get to their computer. Okay. This didn't trigger until 5:30 a.m. Eastern this morning. And then we dropped, once we got below the BBC, you had this whole area here to get your goal for the day before price got to this number. Once it got to 618, it did drop to 607. That's $200 per contract traded. And then this one dropped to 610, call it $140 per contract traded. You see how it works the same no matter what market I go to? There's a lot of power in that. Okay. Gold. 1768 was the long CTA. First time up, we got rejected. Second time up, we went a half point, $50. And the next time up, we went to 69, $100 per contract. And then we pulled back to the BBC, the pullback held, and we ran up to 69.9, $190 per contract traded. And then once price got below the BBC, you're thinking about short trades. So look at all this room you had down to the target. Did we dribble over the target here? The low was 51.40, yeah, $60. Then we pulled back to the zone, dropped again, and we got rejected both times there. But from 58 to 52, that's a $600 per contract move on the way to the target. Remember, it's a target first and entry second. Silver. 2 penny move in silver is worth $100 per contract traded. Here's where we opened last night. First move took us to 21.20. So you had all this room here. Okay, you're above the BBC. You got blue and climbing. So from 21.05 to 21.20, that's $750 per contract traded. Once you finally got there, put in a high at 21.21 half. So that's 1.5 pennies. Remember, 2 pennies is $100. Pull back to the BBC. Off we go again. This time to 21.29. That's $450 per contract traded. Then we pull back to the BBC. The pullback holds, and off we go again. 21.32. That's $600 per contract traded. Why did price stop there? Look left. Look at the horizontal line on my cursor, the red line, and look left. That's why. Once the market establishes resistance, it will remain resistance until broken. And this candle failed to break the resistance established by this candle. When this candle opened, it was green for a minute. And then it quickly reversed and traveled all the way down. So, yes, we had resistance here. Yes, we had resistance here. But this is the first resistance you need to worry about. And price fell just shy of taking it out. But it failed. Sent us back down to trigger on the short side. 2093 down to 2090, $150 per contract traded, and 2091, $100 per contract traded. But once price is below the BBC, you got all this beautiful room here. When price is above the BBC, you got all this beautiful room here up to the target. Up to the target. Down to the target. Down to the target. Okay? Target first, entry second. Okay? Never changes. Always the same. On the euro has just kind of been running sideways. Here's where we opened. The trigger was 104.040. Put in a high at 1.25. That's $100 per contract traded. Okay, this is not $100 per contract traded. And up to 180, that would be 140 ticks. 80 ticks is $100. And then we came down and made it from 560 down to 475. Okay, another $100 per contract traded, and then another $100 per contract traded. Oh, actually, this one dropped to 515. This one dropped to 475. That brings us back to the daily chart, where we're below blue and climbing. So we've got resistance overhead, that blue and climbing, and then the step line, and then the high of the day. Support at the low of the day, the 38% reverse fib, Thursday's low, and then the daily BBC. To become a member of our community, our family, okay? And that's how we treat one another, with dignity and respect, as a family should. I know that's not always how it plays out at Thanksgiving dinner, but we try to behave, okay? So, and we do. We have strict rules about that. If you want to become a member of the family, you've taken your trial, 5 days with access to every tool, every thought, every idea, every class, everything we have, except the members only workshop on Thursday night, which is now being held at 8 p.m. Eastern going forward, as opposed to 9 p.m. Eastern, which is how we did it over a decade. You go through your trial. You kick every tire. You drive it around the block for a week, 5 consecutive days. And then, if you decide that what we do is right for you, then you have to physically navigate to this website, eminifuturestrading.com. And with 2 mouse clicks, you can become a lifetime member with no recurring fees, no upsells, no new shiny objects to buy, no nonsense. Trading's not easy, but we've worked really hard over the years to make it as simple as possible. There's no guarantees in the world of trading. I guarantee you I can teach you how to play baseball, but I'd be a fool to guarantee you that you're going to pitch for the Yankees. See the difference? 9 out of 10 new traders fail because they don't have a teacher. That's why we give you 1-2 hours every trading day and access to a teacher with unlimited one-on-one private mentoring. The strategy and indicators are fluid across all markets, all time frames. As a passport holder, you have access to the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price, and around-the-clock support via Telegram. Let's wrap this week up with our good word for the day. Yesterday, we talked about using your God-given gift. And Today we'll talk about nighttime experiences. That's an interesting topic, eh? And this is just the first in a series. Psalm 30, verse 5. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. The earth is continually revolving, which means when it's light in one continent, it's dark in another. While one person is experiencing midnight, another is rejoicing because daybreak has finally come. Both people live on the same planet, but they're in very different places. So when you're having a nighttime experience, if you can just hold on a little longer, things will change. God guarantees it. The same way you rotated into the darkness, you will rotate out of it again. God works the night shift, and He will turn your darkness into light if you just keep trusting Him. Notice, certain significant events in the Bible happened at night. For example, while Adam was sleeping, God reached in, performed surgery, and made Eve. At midnight, while other prisoners slept, Paul and Silas sang praises to God, and He delivered them. When Peter was locked in the inner prison, at midnight, God sent an angel to liberate him. When Jesus was crucified, the earth was plunged into darkness. But on Easter morning, the light came on forever. So friend, you have to expect some nighttime experiences. Comes with the territory. God's dark room is where He develops you into the image of Christ. Enduring is what gives you the credentials to walk out into the daylight, having earned the right to be there. This kind of faith is tenacious, radical, and relentless. When it's backed into a corner, it stands its ground and declares, I've lost my job, my mortgage is overdue, my symptoms don't look too good, but I still believe God. That kind of faith gets results every time. That's our good word for the day and for the week. And on Monday, we'll pick up on this topic again at the end of the broadcast. I do hope you have a great weekend. I'm really looking forward to Sunday morning. I know I told you guys a story earlier in the week. And sometimes as Christians, we're guilty of, kind of inflating these stories. Like, oh, my rent was due and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden, surprise, a check showed up in my mailbox. It's your income tax refund. You knew it was coming. It just happened to come on the right day. Okay? We don't have to make up God miracles because they happen around us every day. So let's not put ourselves in the position where the non-believer, can so easily scoff at what we talk about. But I'm telling you with all my heart, since the days of a TV show called LA Law, where a special needs young man with Down syndrome was hired to work in the copy room. Remember those photocopy machines? Yeah. And I knew then, although I was raised in a Christian home, I was going through sowing my wild oats, a couple of decades. But even then, in the depths of my depravity, as I watched that show, I watched that young man who truly had Down syndrome, who was playing the role of a young man with Down syndrome. My heart strings were plucked, and I said, man, I want to work with people like that someday. And so, as you all know, my wife and I now go to the nearest CCV campus that was just built right down the street from us. She's already signed up to serve as part of the baptism ministry. And so this week we went to Servers Appreciation Night. And before things got started, I was walking around with a cup of mango lemonade in my hand, and I sat down at the table, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is your chance to get involved in the special needs ministry. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, God, who do I speak to? Who do I ask? Do I ask the campus pastor? And then this beautiful young lady came and sat down at our table and said, hey, hi, this is my name. What's your name? What ministry do you serve in? And I said, well, I don't yet, but I'm interested in the special needs ministry. She started laughing. She goes, I'm in charge of that particular ministry. You're going to knock me over with a feather. God shows up when you least expect it. Even though I was sitting there talking to him about the situation, you know, as a believer, I didn't expect him to show up right then, right there. But he did. In the form of a young woman who's dedicated her life and her free time to helping those with special needs. And so this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, I get to go for the first time and just be an observer, okay? I love the way they do things at CCV. They don't just rush you into something. No. Before I'm even would be allowed to be in that ministry, I got to go through a background investigation and all that stuff, and that's fine. No problem with that. But the invitation for me this Sunday morning is just to come and observe. To make sure that it really is something I want to get involved in. I mean, I could work in the cafe, I could work on the janitorial staff, I could be a greeter, I could work with my wife in the baptism ministry. There's lots of choices, but we're all called to serve. We all have a ministry in us. God put it there when he formed us in our mother's womb. And as much as I enjoy my job and trading and talking to you every day and all the other businesses I've built in the past and the church I pastored, but man, I'm really looking forward to Sunday morning. So I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with his mercy and with his grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.